All right, module number 4. We've talked about segmentation and targeting, and now we're going to talk about audience types. So whatever it is we're doing, again, that's creating organic content or paid ads and boosted posts, we need to start with awesome audiences. And this is that work backwards thing, which is so important. You can go and create all the content in the world, beautiful videos, blog posts, e-newsletters, YouTube content, and then go, wait, who is this for? Who are we sending this to, serving it to, advertising with it to? And then you're kind of stuck because you haven't actually thought that through properly. The same thing happens in media. When you're doing a press release, a news release, a big announcement, you want lots of attention from journalists, and you send your beautifully crafted, carefully honed press release off to the newsroom. But generally what happens is you write that press release, pour over it for days, create all your backgrounders and bios and all this beautiful stuff, and then people start to think about who they're going to send it to. Let's go build that media list. Who's in what newsroom? Go get some contacts. It's so the wrong way to do it. You want to think about who that journalist is and what they need and what their readers need, and then pitch them that tailored exclusive news and find 4 others like it. Not just spray and pray your press release across the land to 300 journalists who could care less and feel like they're just, getting the same story as everybody else. So know your audience in advance, work backwards, and reverse engineer the content, the ads, the captions that are going to work for that particular audience or journalist. Mapping it out. And what that is not just the audience, but the customer journey. So thinking about that audience, yes, but what's the journey they need to take? What are their needs and desires? Where are they going to go when they get to your site? What's going to make them continue through and then take the action or conversion that you want them to take? It's not just about reaching them. It's about getting them to the finish line. And for most of us, that's not just like open my blog post. It's come back for more, subscribe to my e-newsletter, whatever it is your conversion definition is. A subscribe, a contact form filled out, the phone picked up and an appointment made, an e-commerce checkout, a core spot, whatever that looks like. But before we spend a dime on paid ads, we have to map that journey out and then, of course, build those audiences, which we're going to do now. If you need more background or more support on your customer journey mapping and the digital and physical platforms at play and the buyer's kind of needs along the way and where you're reaching them with what kind of content, for what reason, I really encourage you to check out our customer journey course. It's the one before this one, 303, and it's a really powerful one in that it kind of addresses all the things that many of us aren't thinking enough about in the customer journey. So we can think about it as ADA. This is the age-old funnel, I suppose. But what we're doing here is we're leveraging and combining the world's most powerful advertising tools, which truthfully today is Facebook Ads Manager, and we can advertise on Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, and then a whole network of other audience platforms, third-party kind of platforms like news organizations, etc., through Facebook. This is far further advanced than LinkedIn's advertising platforms and Twitter's and Pinterest and TikTok's, and it's far more advanced than buying ads on the radio. I'll tell you that all day long. So right now we've got this unbelievable DIY platform at our fingertips that apples to apples, it is just miles above and beyond in its performance, in its usability, and its the power that's in your fingertips than any other platform out there. So we're leveraging that platform with our journey-based audiences and journey-based campaigns. What I'm trying to say here is that we're building audiences that move people along the buyer journey, and we're building ads that do the same thing. They get more specific as they go. They take a cold buyer and they serve them a cold ad, and they get a hot buyer and they serve them a hot ad, and now we're actually reaching people with the right kind of content at the right stage. We'll get into more of that. So when we're talking about ADA as it relates to our audiences and their stage in the buyer journey, this is what it looks like. At the top of that funnel, or journey, if we want to call it a nicer word, is awareness. Who are these people? We need to find them. We need to make them aware of us or at least on their radar. This is the top of funnel cold leads that we have to constantly be dumping in or putting into the process so that we can actually get people to the end. From there, we get past awareness and they're now in the interest stage. I know about this company and their offering, and am I interested? I'm kind of in the consideration and interesting and research phase. From there, if you've done your job, you get them further down into desire, or some people call it decision. But I'm actually now like at the point where I want this. I'm maybe reading the testimonials or the references because I desire this product and I want to make a decision. And then I take action. And we've got this beautiful buyer journey that hypothetically works very, very well. So if we're building audiences, that's what it's going to look like. When it relates to our ads and their role in the buyer journey, same thing. Awareness, interest, decision, action. But you'll notice that we've gone from blue to yellow, orange in the middle, those warm ads and audiences, and then the hot action. So we like to call it, well, a lot of people call it top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Top, MOF, and BOF. You've probably heard this before. And then always having those new lead campaigns running. The always on, bigger spends, broad campaigns that get at least some of those people that are seeing your big awareness-based ad that's pretty broad in nature further down into the funnel because they click on it or they engage with it or they take some kind of action. And now they're being targeted as a warm lead. And then they get even more enticed and they've now done something, even they watched that video to the end, or they subscribed to your e-newsletter or visited your website. Well, now they're a hot lead and they're being added to that audience naturally and automatically. And we're serving them an ad that meets that kind of need. So what does this look like on Facebook's audience hierarchy when we head on in to Facebook Ads Manager, where we find our audience builder? And you learned about this hierarchy in Paid Social if you took the 360 series course number 206, which is our intro to Facebook Business Suite and business, all the business manager tools, including Audience Builder and Ads Manager. But if you haven't been in there or you didn't take that course, no problem. The bottom line or the overarching idea here is that Facebook calls their top of funnel cold audiences saved. And they're based on interest, demographics, and geographic factors. We call them cold leads. So they have endless potential. And for most of us, they're a necessary starting point. We want to always have some cold ads or boosted posts running. We want to also create content that's designed for those people that don't know us yet, of course. So we're always filling that bucket. Next up, we have our warm middle of funnel audiences that Facebook would call a lookalike audience for the most part. There's plenty of different types that you could consider warm, but we like to create those lookalikes in the middle that I'll get to in a second when we see our hots, because that's where we build them from. So they resemble hot audiences, but they might be slightly different. So a hot audience, Facebook would call a custom. These are people that have already engaged with us. They know us. They've been on our website. They've bought from us before. We're retargeting them because when they're on our website, our pixel fires and that sends the information back to Facebook, the IP address. It shims all other data. We don't know their name or address, but we do know that they were on our site. They visited 5 pages, but they didn't get to checkout, and they are automatically added to that audience of people who visited this page, but not that page. You're going to see all of this in real time behind the scenes in the supplementary videos where you can see the bonus kind of content where we're building out the cold, warm, and hot audiences inside of Audience Builder. So from the hots, I'll just go back to the warms. Once we've created those really powerful custom audiences based on, highly engaged users, we can then go back and create a lookalike audience, that so-called warm. And we decide that the input or the source of our warm audience will be website traffic. But instead of being my website traffic from Calgary, it's going to be people that live in Winnipeg and kind of resemble the same types of interests and behaviors that Facebook's going to build for me. So we change a couple factors. I hope that makes sense. It'll make a ton of sense when you watch the video. So your turn. We're not going into Facebook Audience Manager just yet. What we're doing here is we're mapping it out on paper. Because I promise you, once you get into Audience Builder, it can be an overwhelming mess of choices and options when you start looking at all the interests that you want to add to it. And before you know it, you have a gigantic audience size or one that's way too segmented. So we want to be smart and think about this on paper before we see those choices. So mapping out, first of all, your colds. 1, 2, or 3, it's up to you, but start with at least one solid cold audience. You're going to list out 6 to 10 interests or behaviors of this cold audience. Do they like this? Are they interested in that? And what other kind of behaviors might you be able to broad stroke target them with? Next, list the gender and age group of this audience. Using Facebook's age brackets if you can. It really likes to keep to 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 45 to 54, etc. Or maybe a combo. Maybe you want to have just sort of bigger sizes there. Or maybe you just want to leave age open. You don't care about age. You just really want to target people with X that live in Y. Deciding on your geographical targets. Speaking of Y, is this going to be a region, a city, a country? Or is it a pin drop, a radius around a certain building or neighborhood, which you can see in bonus video number 4, our micro geo targeting. So powerful. I love it. And then name the audience so that you have it. And this is the naming convention we like to use so that our audience manager stays nice and clean and we can really easily see what audience is which. And that's very helpful when you do your front-end social content boosting, as you learned in paid social, course number 206, where if you're going to do your front-end lazy boost, where you're cruising down your Instagram or Facebook newsfeed and you see the blue boost post button, you can really confidently do so because you know exactly what audience it's going to pop up and you can say, yep, this post is perfect for audience number 3, audience number 4, audience number 9. And it's very clearly marked. You can lazy boost all you want as long as you've pre-built your audiences, is what we like to say. More on that in paid social. It's all about boosted content. Long boosts and short boosts. Okay, and then you want to name that. So I would say cold, location, gender, and age, some kind of reference, and then something about their interests. For me, it's generally marketing or small business or entrepreneurship or a combo of all. And then the date you created it can be really helpful too, so that you can constantly remove those old, dusty, cold audiences. Because remember, they're not dynamic. They're not like your custom pixel-based audiences that are always being added to. Dynamic audiences that are constantly growing and changing based on your website pixel firing. These are static. They're not going to change or grow or shrink. And so sometimes it's worth every quarter or at least once a year getting rid of and starting fresh. I guarantee the audience interests of your people, your prospects, those change over time, as do your targets. Your products and services evolve, and so does your audience. Okay, next up, mapping out your middle of funnel audiences. So in this case, same kind of idea, interests and behaviors of this warm audience, the characteristics, and then geographical targets. And if you can start to think about where you might pull this audience from. So what might be the source, which you'll see when we go in and build it. And then finally, the hot audience. So that should say bottom of funnel audiences, map them out on paper before creating them. Again, and thinking about where they're coming from. So what is it that is the characteristics or behaviors? Is it that they were on your website? Is it that they've engaged with a lot of your content? What makes them hot targets? And once you've done that, we're going to get into building out our audiences. So I encourage you to stop here, go into your workbook, do those exercises of pen to paper and exercises 1, 2, and 3 as well. And then let's open up Facebook Business Manager and start to actually build out our audiences. I will see you there.